One thing that is making our life poorer, though, is not being able to enjoy major sporting events without people interrupting them, whether it's the Grand National at Aintree or whether it's the snooker at the Crucible. Again and again, we see eco-protesters deciding to, well, wreck the day for everyone else. Well, why? Well, they believe so strongly about their cause. They think the Earth is on fire, underwater, dying, delete as applicable, depending on what Greta Thunberg has hysterically prophesied lately. But either way, they think that we need more action. Well, yesterday, Extinction Rebellion, along with Greenpeace, War on Want and some 200 other, well, I would say now extremist organisations, have issued an ultimatum to the British government. They must agree to their demands by 5 o'clock on Monday or face more severe protests. They want an end to the search for new fossil fuels immediately, and they want to set up an emergency citizen assembly to decide the future of the country. Well, they're planning already 4 days of protests to start in London on Friday. That's ahead of the London Marathon on Sunday. 30,000 activists expected to flood the city and cause disruption for days. Well, let's talk about all of this with Etienne Stott, who's a spokesman for Extinction Rebellion and joins us right now. Good morning to you, Etienne.
Good morning, Julia.
Very much appreciate you joining me. A lot of people might recognise your name, actually, as one of the 2012 Olympic winners. You're a canoeist. You got an MBE, for which huge congratulations from me. Bit belated, obviously, now. But I would say, having done wonderful things representing your country, I'm perhaps not so supportive of what you want to do to what I suppose you think save your country now. Do you agree with Extinction Rebellion issuing an ultimatum to a democratically elected government and making threats if they don't agree to your demands? Do you stand by that?
Well, I think what we're doing here is we have managed to bring together a huge coalition of concerned groups, non-governmental organisation, campaign groups, ethical companies who are all recognising the same thing, that we need an end to the fossil fuel era. And they're also pointing to the fact that at the moment, ordinary people's voices are not being heard when decisions that affect all of us and all to come are being made.
Goodness me, I absolutely agree with the last statement. Ordinary people's voices are not being heard because they don't want an end to the fossil fuel era. Can I just ask, when you talk about that, I mean, it's such a glib phrase. We need to end fossil fuels. What do you mean by that? Because are you aware of the implications of us not using fossil fuel anymore?
Well, what we need is a rapid and fair end to this fossil fuel era. And as you can see,
not what I asked you.
You've just been talking about the cost. Excuse me, just let me finish. So the cost of living crisis that we're suffering here, people in food and energy insecurity situations, this could have been made a lot better if our government had started quite some time ago on doing the simple things. We've got to ask why our government has not done, for example, a massive home insulation retrofit scheme, which will create thousands of good jobs and actually, very quickly help people to be warmer in their homes. Why hasn't the government held these energy companies to account who are making absolute ridiculous profits at this time? And not, literally charging.
But again, not the question I asked you, Etienne. Are you aware of the implications of what ending the fossil fuel era will mean? Because fossil fuels have helped drive the Industrial Revolution, and they're the reason why we live in the lives that we do right now, with travel, with heated homes, with clean water, with medicines, the plastics that are vital as part of our, of medical supplies and everything else that we do these days. Our quality of life is entirely dependent on the use of fuel, and the most abundant and reliable fuels right now are fossil fuels. So what do you believe the implications of ending the fossil fuel era would be for ordinary people, me, you, and indeed my audience?
Yeah. No. So what would happen if we were to get the citizens' assemblies that we're asking for? Just let me finish, please.
I can ask you about that afterwards. I want you. Is it possible, if you could answer the question I've asked you?
Yes, the technology exists. The technology exists. What we need to do, what you're missing, the point that you're missing here is we have to end the fossil fuel era. Otherwise, we're going to end our civilization. And this is not my words. This is the words of the United Nations.
I know, and it's nonsense.
This is what's happening. If you're living in other parts of the world that have suffered the effects of extreme weather, they know that we need to end the fossil fuel era. We need to do it rapidly, carefully, and with a sensible plan. We can't just switch it off. As
rapidly and carefully.
Those things suggesting. We're talking about a fair, sensible plan.
Etienne, rapidly and carefully don't often go very well together. Are you aware? I'm going to try again. Are you aware of the implications of what an end to the fossil fuel era means? Because it means an end to life as we know it. Not just living in 2023, not going back to the 1970s. It means going back to living very meagre, very poor,
No, it does not.
very
I
cold
reject
lives.
that, actually. No, I don't. I actually
You
don't
think it
that.
doesn't?
Again, no, because I think we need to, we need to electrify lots of our systems. We need to think about different ways of doing things that do not pollute the lungs of our children and of us.
So we're going to do everything with electricity. Right, brilliant.
Well,
and where are we going to get the electricity from, my love?
But we need low carbon solutions. The fossil fuel era has to come to an end. Otherwise, we're going to destroy the living conditions of our planet for millions and millions of people. Okay. And that is just not sensible. And the longer we wait, the harder it is and the more it's going to cost. It's really, really difficult situation. But we've got to tackle it.
Right, okay. The simple solution, well, we've got the technology, you say, we're going to electrify, it's great. Electricity has to be produced from somewhere, and you can get it from solar power and you can get it from wind power. If, however, the wind doesn't blow or the sun isn't shining, which happens an awful lot, you need to have storage. You need to have enough storage to last, say, months of that not happening. We don't have that storage. No one in that field thinks that we will have that sort of battery storage for decades to come. How do we get rid of fossil fuels if we don't have that backup for when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow?
So we need to work on these things. So the engineering solution, one of the things that we really need to do, I was just going to say, one of the things we really need to do is to reduce the amount of energy that we're using.
We've got to it. We need, right. Turn
our
heating down,
from perhaps
stop
insulating
flying,
our
stop
homes
driving.
Better and things like this. We need to figure out ways of doing things. So much energy is wasted in our economy these days. People's lives and energy are wasted producing meaningless and useless stuff that does not is not needed.
Etienne, I so appreciate you saying the quiet bit out loud, because that's what this is actually about. This is about hair shirtism, isn't it? This is about turning back the clock and turning back. What you don't like is capitalist, consumer, good life that people have got in the 21st century in Western countries, and people all over the world living in developing nations would only dream of having, and I hope one day will have, thanks to the Industrial Revolution and to capitalism and markets. But you don't really like that. You think that we should all live with hair shirts on, tending our allotments at the back of the garden.
And that's why we need, so you keep
that's what you think,
we need citizens' assemblies where ordinary people's voices are heard.
We have elections. We have a citizens' assembly. It's called Parliament.
Is people. I'm sorry, I need to try to explain this to people. What we need is a just and fair and equitable way of doing this. Yes, we need it to be done. And those countries around the world that you're so concerned about, they need to jump through this fossil fuel era to get to a place where they can have a good standard of living. And there's lots of evidence out there.
Fossil fuels. They need fossil fuels. Billions of people need fossil fuels to actually have better lives.
Their lives are being ruined.
No, their lives are being ruined because they haven't industrialised.
And what we need is ordinary citizens' voices to be heard when they are informed, and they're going to have
Etienne, when you say
social understanding,
ordinary people's
without the slogans, without the short-term interest, and then they can get started on good solutions.
Etienne, when you say ordinary people should have their say, what you mean, and when they're informed, what you mean is we would like to deliver all of our green climate hysterical propaganda, and then say to people, look, this is what we need to do. But people are informed. People are absolutely, they have this stuff poured down their throats every single day by all media. You cannot escape this stuff. People are informed. But what they're informed about, and when they're actually told what the cost of it is, they go, no, thank you very much. If you ask ordinary people, would you happily, switch to a heat pump or have to pay way more to be able to take a flight to go on a holiday, or have an eco car, a green car that costs twice as much to, in the long term? People say no. When people are asked their actual views, they say no, because they don't want what you want. If you actually thought your policies were popular, you'd all stand for election. And if your policies were popular and people genuinely cared about these issues, they'd vote for you. You'd be in government and you would enact those policies. Instead, you want to bypass the democratic will of the people to impose your views with threats. Why do you think that's acceptable in a democracy?
So in a democracy, the government is supposed to listen to the concerns of its citizens. What we've got here with the big one...
They are. They're concerned about putting the heating on, mate.
You're not letting me finish, and there's no point in me I have to try to finish what I'm saying. thousands upon thousands of ordinary people. So many people are turning out these next few days are not protesters, they're not campaigners, they're people who've never done this sort of thing before because they realise that enough is enough is not actually, action isn't happening and it needs to.
It is happening. We've got 2050 target for net zero. That's already unachievable and insane. What more do you want? You've already captured all the main political parties. What more do you want?
This is a thing that you are not communicating effectively, and I really think it's really important. It's very irresponsible that you're not. What if we breached 1.5 degrees? The predictions and all the evidence points to a collapse of our economy.
No,
that is going to be extremely
costly. No, it doesn't. There's nothing in an IP. Etienne, this is where it's irresponsible. People like you, Greta Thunberg, and all the rest of you. This is a lie. Nothing in an Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report has ever suggested any such thing. The actual scientific reports, the actual data they actually report on, none of it has claimed anything like that. That's an absolute lie. And I'm surprised that anyone who, I mean, you talk about these being protesters who haven't turned out before. I bet they mostly have. People like you've been arrested 6 times, haven't you? You're one of the people stopping me get to work to Waterloo Bridge back in 2019. Lots of you are professional protesters. And this is what you do. The guy, Edward Whittingham from Just Stop Oil, who ruined the snooker for everybody, he crowdfunds his lifestyle so he can carry on protesting rather than having to get a weekend job while he's a student. This is just activism for activism's sake. If you actually knew anything about this subject, you would know that saying the end of civilization is nigh is a lie. It's scaremongering nonsense.
That is not a lie. No, that is not me saying that. This is the chief diplomat of the world, Antonio Guterres. And let's be clear.
Yeah, but it wasn't based on anything that was actually written in the body of the report. Did you read the report?
Those reports suggest, and you can look into this as well, those reports suggest we cannot run an organised civilization if we get to the sorts of levels of global heating.
They don't suggest anything of the sort.
And so if we do get to that, we're going to collapse our economy. No, you are being irresponsible.
You want to collapse our economy by turning off fossil fuels. OK, demands aren't met at 5 o'clock on Monday. The demand for these citizens' assemblies and a demand for an end to all fossil fuel, new fossil fuels being used. It's not going to be met at 5 o'clock on Monday. What happens then?
Well, this is a demand of an awful lot of reasonable, good, decent citizens, and they're not professional protesters. I think that's a ridiculous thing to say.
What happens then?
Well, what happens then is people will realise that our government is not governing in their interest. What happens then? Whose interest are they governing in? Because they're not listening to
they're not listening to you. They don't listen to lots of things I say, but I don't threaten the government as well. No. Can you tell me what happens at 5 o'clock on Monday?
I'd like to say here. So Sir David King, who was the government's former chief scientific advisor, said within the decisions that are made in the next 3 years will shape the future of civilization. This is not like a kind of wild person. This is a hard scientist who really grasps the understanding.
Okay, so what's going to happen at 5 o'clock on Monday? Etienne, I'm already over time. I want to get you to answer this question in one sentence. What's going to happen at 5 o'clock on Monday when the government doesn't meet your demands?
An awful lot of people are going to start to realise that the government needs to be taken into account and held to account for its reckless decisions that are going to affect all of us and all to come, and that is completely wrong. And in a democracy, they should be listening to these concerns.
OK. Etienne, it's been really interesting talking to you. I do appreciate you taking the time. Etienne Stott, MBE spokesman for Extinction Rebellion and Olympic canoeist as well. I think you just should have stuck to the canoeing personally, but...